Mary Griffitts, a jury consultant, founded the Dallas-based Trial Consulting Enterprises, which specializes in litigation consulting. Ms. Griffitts is a lawyer who is licensed to practice law in both Texas and Louisiana. Prior to starting her own consulting firm, Ms. Griffitts was a senior litigation analyst with Dr. Phil McGraw's trial science firm in Dallas that handled cases such as the cattleman suit against Oprah Winfrey, along with other high-profile entertainment litigation. Ms. Griffitts' jury consulting experience includes facilitating mock trials, focus groups, creating juror profiles, drafting juror questionnaires, witness communication training, facilitating mock arbitrations and mediations, venue studies, voir dire development and presentation, jury selection, and trial monitoring, along with presenting CLE seminars. Ms. Griffitts has worked with and engaged in litigation consulting for such high-profile clients as 3M, Johnson & Johnson, Carnival Cruise Lines, Six Flags Over Texas, Lufkin, Mary Kay, and Whataburger. Ms. Griffitts has been a featured jury consultant in both the Texas Lawyer and National Law Journal and on numerous television programs as a jury correspondent.
At 4 o'clock, NBC5's Michelle Franzen has more from New York.
The first phase for jury selection in the Martha Stewart criminal trial began with a secret questionnaire. At a federal court in Manhattan, potential jurors filled out the forms in the case that could land the domestic guru in prison.
Joining us for more perspective on the Stewart case and how the jury will be selected is Dallas jury consultant Mary Griffitts. Mary, thanks for joining us.
You're welcome.
This is such a high-profile case. What's the first thing this particular pool of prospective jurors will be asked to do?
Well, the first thing that they're going to be asked to do is what happened today, and that is to fill out jury questionnaires. They came down to the courthouse. They had an opportunity to fill out the jury questionnaires. And these jury questionnaires are questionnaires that both sides, both the prosecution and the defendant, have come together and agreed upon what questions to ask, such as for bias, prejudice, that type of thing.
So they come up with the actual questions. There isn't a standard form that these jurors will be subjected to.
Well, there's some general questions. There's some standard jury questionnaires out there regarding education, work experience, that type of thing. But with such a high-profile case such as this, both sides have put into a lot of thought into what types of questions that they want to put forward on this jury questionnaire.
So what kind of questions would they be looking at, this particular pool?
Well, certain thematic questions, I'm sure, are going to be put on this jury questionnaire, such as how people view, the bottom line of this case is going to come to Martha Stewart's credibility. So both sides are going to want to get a feel for what's the different life experiences for these jurors, what type of education, how do they view personalities on TV, that type of thing.
So what will both sides be looking for in a juror? Let's start with the defense. What would be the ideal juror for the defense?
Well, the defense, this is an interesting kind of side, because Martha Stewart's case, she's going to have to both play and kind of stop her celebrity, meaning that the defendants have to utilize the celebrity and utilize the view that a lot of people already have of Martha Stewart, which in some cases is very good. She's a high-profile woman. She's done a great deal, and she's made a lot of, good fortune for herself.
And what about the prosecution?
The prosecution is also going to play on that celebrity. More importantly, they're going to play upon the life experience of Martha Stewart before she became the domestic diva, in the sense that she was a stockbroker in her former kind of work experience. So that means Martha Stewart knew the rules of the game and kind of maybe, as the prosecution is alleging, knew how to break those rules.
Real quick, so both sides of the case are going to spend 2 weeks looking at the responses to the juror questionnaire. Then they're going to go to court and begin the final selection of the jurors, and they're going to meet them face to face. How is this selection process going to proceed from there?
Well, on January 20th, when they meet again, as you just stated, the attorneys are going to have this time to review and really concentrate on these jury questionnaires. From these jury questionnaires, they're going to have questions to further ask potential jurors. The judge also in this case, since this is a federal court case, is going to have an opportunity to ask the jurors different types of questions, and then allow for either side, once those questions have been answered, to further question this potential jury pool.
Thank you so much, Dallas jury consultant Mary Griffitts, for shedding some light on that.
Thanks.
We will be presenting evidence that Ms. Diaz was not in her right mind at the time that her children were killed.
Few people would doubt that something was wrong with Lisa Diaz when 3-year-old Cameron and 5-year-old Brianna were found dead. But proving legal insanity won't be that easy. Another challenge will be finding a jury, which will almost certainly include some parents. Mary Griffitts is a jury consultant.
They're going to see this case as, I could never do that to my child.
Griffitts says the strategy will only pay off with a certain kind of juror.
I would look more for a juror who had maybe an understanding of, whether it's their own family or themselves, a life experience with mental anguish.
In what could be a landmark decision, a jury in Angleton has awarded more than $250 million to the widow of a man who took the painkiller Vioxx. Carol Ernst's husband, Robert, a triathlete, died in his sleep. This was in 2001, and it was after he took Vioxx. An autopsy showed an irregular heartbeat was to blame. There are 4,200 state and federal Vioxx cases pending against Merck nationwide. And this morning, we're joined by Mary Griffitts, and she's a jury consultant in Dallas, and she's going to talk to us a little bit about the ruling in the future for drug companies. Good morning.
Good morning.
Now, we just had last year the maker of one of the parts of Fen-Phen, the deadly diet combination. There was $1 billion verdict there as well, and that was out of Beaumont, also a Texas jury.
Right.
Are Texas juries just harder on these drug companies, or what's really going on?
Well, it depends. Really, these drug company cases come to huge damage awards if the juries believe it's profits over safety. And in both of these cases, both the Fen-Phen and the Vioxx, it was thematically presented to the jury that this was about profits over safety. Who knew what, when did they know it, and what did they do about it? And in these Vioxx cases, especially in this past case, it was that the jury believed that they didn't do enough.
Does this become symbolic? Because I know the Coffey family in Beaumont with the Wyeth case on Fen-Phen, they still haven't obviously received their $1 billion. Will these families ever see the money?
Well, there's no doubt that this is going to be appealed. And to a certain degree, some of the money award is, I'm sure, going to be lessened during the appeal. But this was more about sending a message. And this jury, you know, last week sent a very strong message, because with these types of cases, it's serial litigation. This case was being heavily watched by a lot of other states. So what this Texas jury did was send a very powerful message.
And if the drug companies don't end up paying, and this could be, you know, years in the appeals process, are they really motivated to change what they're doing?
We would hope so, because with such huge verdicts, if profit over safety is something that just the pool, not just these two particular juries, if this is what the public views that these drug companies are doing, then this will be something that will be imperative for any drug manufacturer. When they're thinking about putting out a product, they need to think about, is the benefit of getting it out sooner worth the potential burden?
Do you think these large companies are finally starting to see that and feel the responsibility? Because you continue to have these well-known drugs that are taken by a lot of people, and then we have the litigation and things come out that they weren't safe and that the drug companies actually knew it. Do you think that this is incentive for them to really do that?
I think it is a huge incentive. With all the publicity that this case has received, with the verdict that they reached last week, this is a huge message that will be continued if jurors perceive it's profit over safety.
Thank you so much for coming in. Great insight for us this morning.
For a complete presentation specific to your individual case, please visit our website, call, or email us at Trial Consulting Enterprises.